right, good morning. Welcome to Shop Talks. Shop Talks is a production of the Ink Kitchen. We have a YouTube channel. There it is. Free information. We have over 200 videos. This also will be put up there eventually. We have other information, blog or website, inkkitchen.com. We have sponsors that make this all possible to be free. Emerald are the people that put the show on. Hirsch Solutions, Stulse, Transfer Express, and Los Angeles Apparel. With my good friend here, Peter Rinnig from QRST in Somerville, Massachusetts, which is just outside of Boston. And he runs a shop where he contracts out screen printing, but he has been for a long time doing digital printing, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Morning.
How long have you been doing it? Since dinosaurs ruled the earth or something like that, right?
Yeah, our first digital press was a Brother digital press, and that was 18 years ago. And, whoop, is it okay? Okay. That when we first started doing it, white ink actually didn't exist in a digital press. You can only do light-colored garments. That was off, and when I got rid of that press, it was over 400,000 prints at that time.
Wow. So it's interesting, this topic of how do you run a profitable DTG, because the first talk yesterday, printing on Main Street, Vlad, he had done analysis of his business, and he's like, well, as soon as I did it, I got rid of my DTG press. It's not profitable. You can't make money doing it. I was like, I don't know. The guy tomorrow, I've seen him. He has a car and a house, and he seems like, and he's not that good at gambling. So how does he do it? So you want to talk a little bit about how you structure things and why you think you are able to do DTG profitably. And you've had a variety of machines as well, right?
Yeah. Yes. So at the moment we have 4 Brother GTX Pros, and we still have 3 Cornette Breezes. At one point we had 5, but they have slowly passed away, and we strip them down for parts at that point. So we have 7 digital presses in-house. And for like this talk, there's a few things to run a small digital printing shop. We have a lot of walk-ins. We're right on the outskirts of the city of Boston. So someone literally, like on Thursday, came in, they needed 6 pieces. They actually had the sweatshirts, and literally a left chest print on 6 pieces, and we charged them $22 a piece, and they had the sweatshirts. So there's things where you can do small numbers, as little as 1. You can have an extremely quick turnaround time, because basically as long as you have good artwork, you prep it and then print it, and you could have the finished garment in like 10 minutes. People walk in where they might have the whole, even if it's 24 or 36 pieces, where someone might screen print it, they might have all different backs, like not even names and numbers that you could do vinyl, but like artwork, different backs, and we have no problem accepting that. Another thing for like a small shop, a lot of people run online stores at this point, and a lot of places they open a online store for a school or an event where people can order. They keep it open for 30 days. They take all the orders, then they print it. What we do, we keep it open for a year, because if someone orders 1 shirt, we can print 1 shirt. And you know, it's a slightly different service than other screen print shops to be able to do that, because we'll get someone calling in, we had a store, and we didn't like that it's 30 days, and then we have to wait 6 months and then 30 days for people to order. We just say we'll keep it open year round.
So I know actually you are very careful financially, but one thing I've noticed that from talking to you over the years, you do not ever scrimp on your maintenance. I noticed that. So you want to talk a little bit about that and your attitude and philosophy about that?
So with the maintenance, first of all, my digital printers. At this point, they've been with me probably 5 years each, and they do their own maintenance, and they can literally, they know we will schedule maintenance. Like they'll come to me and go, we need an hour on Monday morning to make sure we're up and running properly because the digital presses have sat over the weekend. Or one of my printers, his name's Ian. He'll say, you need to schedule me for all of Thursday because I need to make sure that the presses are up and running. And Brother at this point with the GTX Pros, they're really good and attentive. Where that if you wanted them to come out and see something, you'd pay for it, but for phone services, it's
actually
really
the other thing, we have those same presses, and you're able to go to their facility down in Memphis, and they have a free class where you learn how to we've had a couple people go and they learn to take the machine apart, put it back together, and they're not trying to sell you maintenance. They want to sell you ink, but they're not trying to sell you maintenance, and the class is really very good at that. So I guess that's one reason you have those presses, right? Because you can maintain them.
Yeah, and they're actually Brothers presses are fairly easy to maintain. And another thing for running a small DTG profitable shop, you don't need a lot of space.
That's huge at this point in the Boston area, right?
Yeah.
Where you're paying about $1 million a square inch for rent.
It is. We pay a fair amount for the location we're in Somerville, which is right next to Boston. But you could probably even run it out of your home if you had one or two digital presses, the pre-treat machine, and what we have both a conveyor dryer, but we also have a drawer dryer, and the drawer dryer is probably as small as 3 of those chairs wide. So it's a very small footprint. You don't need 2,500 square feet of space. But what I was going to also say for running a small DTG business profitably, you can run 2 machines as easily as you run 1 machine. But and I know you have to buy 1 press versus 2 presses, but literally as you're waiting, print, I don't know, a full print can take 4 minutes, 5 minutes to print. So as you're printing on one, you can be printing on the other. So it doesn't take anything extra to have that second press.
And is your dryer ours goes down and comes back too, so you don't need somebody to catch it. That's kind of a nice feature too. You're trying to have less labor,
Yep. Yeah. Hold on. I have a cheat sheet of things.
Cheating, it's called preparation. I like it. Also, what else I'll say is one reason we have these shop talks is that we have people that actually know what they're talking about versus professional speakers. I prefer to have someone that might need a piece of paper to talk and not memorize it, but knows what he's doing day in and day out doing this work, than I would have somebody that's a slick speaker. So that's the way we roll here. So go ahead.
And also with digital printing, we keep basic black and white shirts on hand. When someone calls up on a Thursday and they want shirts on Friday, we can do that. If they wanted, ash gray tri-blend female cut, we can't do that. But when they say, oh, I forgot to order shirts for our event on Saturday, we can turn around and do it. And versus a screen print shop where now you have to, make the films, make the separations, coat the screen, put the screen on the press, and we've already started printing 5 minutes later.
How many do you keep on hand?
So that's actually, you know what? Let's anything else, and then we'll have questions.
Hold on.
No, that's good. No, it's good. You're good lead-in. Plus, Now Pam remembered she has to get the mic ready for that part.
No, you can ask questions. The only other thing I was truly going to say is we being in the Boston area, we charge a premium for this, and people do not seem to mind when someone calls up and wants one shirt. Maybe they've gone to Custom Ink and all of a sudden they realize they can't get one shirt from Custom Ink. We charge for a basic Gildan G200 style cotton shirt. We charge $25 for the shirt and printing on one side, and people don't seem to hesitate at that price point. And I think that depends on where your location is, but I don't.
Right, but if you're in also an expensive rent place with expensive
Yes.
labor, so somebody else maybe can't charge that but doesn't have quite the expenses.
Yeah. For keeping stock on hand, we keep
So the question was, how much stock do you keep on hand?
we keep black and white Gildan shirts on hand, small through double XL, anywhere from like half a case of each size. You don't, I don't think you need to keep that much if you're a smaller place, but if you had at least like a dozen of each size in black and in white, I think that would be good. And people who are calling you on a Wednesday or Thursday for a Friday thing, they're going to be easy and, pick black or white, and they would do that.
I think you want the amount that you could do in a rush job in a day.
Yeah.
Because if you have a couple days, well, you can at least start printing and you can order more. I mean, there's a lot of factors. It probably depends on when your UPS comes. Ours comes early and picks up to take off late. So we're able to probably have less than somebody else might to take care of those jobs.
There's two other things I want to bring up. We also get a lot of people walking. I mean, once again, it's where our location is. We get a lot of contract orders of people literally who are wanting to start up their own streetwear brand, but they only want one piece of each, for samples. And we get a lot of walk-in orders like that. And having the digital presses that way, we do a fair amount like that. And you can, depending on your location, you can really push that where we can make the samples for you.
You said two things. What was the other one?
About DTF versus.
Right, yeah. What about DTF versus DTG?
So us having the 7 digital presses in the last year and a half, we've been using the DTF transfers for certain material. It's not a be-all, end-all solution to use DTF, because I know you can send out for them from a million companies and then all you need is a heat press, but a lot of for the embellishment, a digital press is going to work in most instances. There are other instances where, like I was saying, we get contract apparel from people and they'll walk in, with Lululemon. You're not going to do digital printing on Lululemon, but we have learned in the last year and a half the direct to film works great. And so you have to really choose the material for digital printing or direct to film. You can't do 100% both ways, or you shouldn't.
All right. Question.
Hi there. Good morning. A few years ago, I requested some samples for DTG, and at that time, the colors didn't seem to pop. So I'm wondering, now that I'm getting ready to launch this summer, do you find that your printers have very vibrant, colorful results these days compared to years ago?
That's a great question.
If the printer that you're going to, or the machine that you're using yourself, if you're doing it properly and putting down the correct amount of pre-treat the correct amount of white ink, the correct amount of CMYK, you will get a vibrant print. If you sent out for samples and it came back dull, find someone else to do it. Ask to see sample. If you're sending things out, ask to see samples from them. We keep a lot of samples on hand to show people. We've been doing it for a long time. We know we know it has to be vibrant. We know how much ink to put down, how much pre-treat to put down.
Well, it's funny because I was saying this yesterday. This isn't quite the topic, but if you're thinking about buying a machine, they will tell you, oh, it can print so many an hour, and they will tell you it can print like screen printing. But what they don't tell you is that volume you can't do and have it look like screen printing. You have to go slower. You have to put more ink down. You can make it look, we've won every award there is for screen printing, and I can't tell sometimes a shirt on my desk how we did it. Now, it can be very bright. It's a little more expensive to do that. Like you said, more pre-treat, more dwell time, you have to know what you're doing. It's not foolproof, so I would just try to find somebody else.
If I can just make one more comment on that. Also, heat press versus conveyor or belt dryer. Like we have a drawer dryer and a conveyor dryer. If someone is heat pressing it, that can make it more dull too for digital print. So if you're doing it, if you're doing it yourself, I would totally try and recommend getting some sort of dryer. They make 1 drawer, 2 drawer dryers for a small imprint versus a heat press. A heat press will dull the print. It'll make it more plasticky. And so, like, those are some of the questions you have to ask if you're sending it out to someone.
Got another question here.
I had a question about the pre-treatment. Do you buy garments that are already pre-treated, or do you do it yourself? And do you do the treatments and then stock them, or do you do it by job?
So and I'm just going to be gentle because of where we are. We have tried pre-treated shirts, and we'll do our own pre-treatment and versus a pre-treated shirt, and I think us doing it ourselves comes out nicer. No, we will print it right before the job and do it we're a really fast-paced production shop. So like orders literally will come in on a Monday and they have to be done by Friday. So we can't sit there and pre-treat 100 or 200 shirts and let them sit for a week or two. That would never happen in our shop. It's done, printed, and out the door.
There are, I know, big shops that pre-treat ahead, and there's a way to put them like in totes and stuff, and where there's minimal airflow, and they can stay pre-treated for a little while. I would say, like him, I haven't found that the pre-treated garments that you buy are up to our standards on the whole. If you're in a hurry, they're maybe good. Depends on the level that you can accomplish as well, because if you're doing it with a heat press, like in some ways the whole shirt is stained already, so you're not going to get any kind of stain look from a fully pre-treated garment that comes that way. So there are some advantages, but on the whole, I haven't been able to make them look as good as the other ones.
And we really haven't done this because we'll get more than one shirt, but if someone came in and wanted 2 shirts and they have a front, a back, left sleeve, right sleeve, maybe get a pre-treated shirt, because you have so many different spots to pre-treat, and if you're only doing 1 or 2, then maybe a pre-treated shirt is better, but I still don't like the final print versus ours.
Do you also pre-treat the white shirts? Because I keep hearing some people do, some people don't.
We do not. We do not use an underbase. We don't pre-treat, and we don't print white ink on white shirts. We really separate it out. Like for the Brother GTX Pros, we have 3 of them that we just we'll use with white ink. And then one, we have white ink in it, but we'll print without the white ink. For the most part, customers don't know the difference. When we do contract printing and a customer comes in, we'll ask them and we'll show them the difference. We have like the same image with on a white, say a white shirt without pre-treat and with pre-treat, and it is brighter with a pre-treat, but we don't.
We almost always pre-treat the white shirts. But we have a different clientele than he does.
So, going back to the pre-treating, is there any adverse effects to the shirt if you pre-treat and fold in stock? You know, like, is there any problem doing that? Just do it for a later date?
Yeah, it'll not work eventually.
Okay.
But you can't do that. There are ways to, and we don't do that, but I know that there are large places that have like hundreds of brothers and stuff, and they have ways to pre-treat it and store it briefly, not for months or anything like that, but to get ahead of it. Also, there are different pre-treats. There's a company in Connecticut called Firebird Eastern Tech, and they make some interesting pre-treats. We were able with one of them to, like a lot of shirts stain no matter what you do, like Carolina blue and a couple other colors, Heather gray and purple, and we were able with the Firebird to not have the square on their stain. So, and then he probably just does it in his sleep, but we analyzed some of our prints. We were able to adjust the print, have it look actually better, and it was like a few dollars less per ink on a shirt. The operator was just putting too much ink down, too much pre-treat. And you can adjust it. It's not as easy as, when they sell you a machine, they want to make it seem foolproof. Oh, you just do this, pre-treat it, print it. No, maybe you want more pre-treat and less ink. It will be cheaper and come out maybe even better. So you got to play around with the machines.
And with so like there will be different companies selling the different pre-treat, different inks, and if you're buying your own machine, they're going to give you their inks and pre-treat from that company to begin with. But you should definitely try out with Cornette. You have to use their ink, their pre-treat, or it'll mess up their heads. But with Brother, you can switch out the ink or the pre-treat to your liking. It also depends on the shirt, too. A cotton shirt versus a cotton poly blend is going to print differently, and like we've been doing it for so long, like my printers will know, like if they're using 50-50 or a tri-blend or 100% cotton, they know what they need to use the amount for pre-treat and white ink.
Maybe even it's how you hit the shirt ahead of time to flatten the fibers, how bright it's going to be in the end. There's a lot of things to it. Other questions?
Thank you. I'm an embroiderer, so DTG is new and I'm learning about it here. What is pre-treat and what chemical are they using to do that?
It's some kind of base, like it used to smell like vinegar actually, so it's something similar to that. It's not toxic, I don't think, in any way. I've never heard anything about it being toxic. It's probably a better fit with embroidery than if you were a screen printer to do DTG. He does embroidery as well.
It's when I try explaining it to a customer who doesn't know, basically, this is what we say to someone who has no idea except that they have 3 shirts that they want printed. On a black shirt, we say the pre-treat goes down, which adheres to the shirt, and then the ink adheres to the pre-treat. I mean, on our end, you have to know what you're doing, but that's a very 1 or 2 sentence simple way to explain to a customer or to someone who doesn't know or starting.
Okay, so when you do pre-treat, are you only pre-treating to mimic the design, or you're pre-treating more of a shirt? Because I hear you saying that there are some shirts that are fully pre-treated so you could do anything you want with them.
Well, it's funny, I know they've worked on machines where they try to pre-treat only where the design is, which would be great because you would get rid of the stains, but no no machine that you're going to see in here. There's some machines people use in the giant facilities that do that, but there's no commercially available one that you're going to buy that does that. So you're just going to pre-treat as little as possible.
It'll be a square. The pre-treat. You could break it down to a left chest, or, you know, if your image is 10 inches, you could do a 10-inch square. But like Rick said, you're not going to be able to do around the no.
Too bad we didn't get that on film.
That's a great question, though.
That was a good question. All right, other questions?
Can I ask questions of the audience?
Oh, sure.
How many people here have a DTG printer? Okay, and how many? And are you folks also just with a raise of hand doing also like direct to film? And do you feel that it's all of one or all of the other, or a mix?
All right, so they have a machine they can use for either. Okay.
Can I ask the machine? OmniPrint? So, interesting.
The question was, she said she had she has a Coldesi DTF machine, and she has a OmniPrint one that can do either. I think most of the DTG machines actually can make DTF transfers, but not quickly.
And if you're thinking of buying one to have your cell, send these people your design. Tell them you want this style and color shirt, and send it to 3 or 4 different places with your design, not their design. They've spent 6 months perfecting their design on a certain shirt. You don't want to see their design. You want to see your design from different places with the same shirt.
Yeah. So I have a thing. All the people, not all every time, but trade show parrots and trade show race cars. Like you can, those are you can throw any ink if you're screen printing it. It always looks bright and vibrant. It's not necessarily accurate. See how it does with a face or an apple or something that you know what it's supposed to look like. And if you're trying to get faithful reproductions, and then yeah, like he said, your file, how does it come out with your art? You know how you want it to come out. Yeah, don't you can mess with something to make it come out good. That's not going to be your day today.
And one thing we haven't even hit on is the washability. If you're not doing it properly, it can wash out. That means, if the pre-treat wasn't done correctly, if it wasn't dried correctly. We still have issues every now and then. Even though my guys have been doing this for a long, long time, that every now and then we'll get an issue where if and I've spoken to my printers, if they're trying to push through a lot through the conveyor and then all of a sudden the heat goes down, it won't properly cure. So if you're doing it yourself, you should, and you're just starting out, check the washability always. That can be an issue.
Yeah, other questions? I think you're setting a record for questions. I like it.
Hey, how you doing? I have the Epson F2100. I heard that for each layer of ink that you're laying down on a shirt is 45 seconds. Is that correct? 45 seconds for each layer of ink that you lay down on a shirt.
Each layer of ink, 45 cents.
No, 40 seconds.
Seconds?
Of curing.
So if we're doing like a 10 by 10 print, I mean so we use a Schultz pre-treater for the GTX Pros. That doesn't, I would say, probably less than a minute to lay down that, but then we'll heat press it. And then for printing, it's not 45 seconds. It's longer than that.
I usually have it in for about a minute in 20 seconds, but that's 45 seconds each for every layer.
No,
That's what I was told. So
yeah,
I'm
I would
curious
not
of
believe that.
Okay.
I mean, some of our prints can take 4 or 5 minutes. I mean, it depends on coverage too. You're doing a left chest print, it could be under a minute, or if you're doing like line art, that could be really quick. But if you're doing like a full blown heavy inked thing, that can take a few minutes.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right, how about a hand for Peter Rinnig here? And you stick around for a minute. If you have other questions, he's going to stick around for a few minutes. Thanks for coming. Thanks to our sponsors. Check out the In Kitchen YouTube channel where this will eventually appear.